Hey there, everybody. So, when it comes to having needs, you're laughing.
Are you a needy boy, Brandon?
Sometimes I am needy boy. In fact, I feel like I still am.
He's a man with needs.
I'm a man with needs. Is that okay to have needs? Is being needy a problem? Let's jump right into that with today's Get Naked Monday. Well, welcome back to thoughtraid, a show where we take on thoughts and find better ways of thinking about them. I'm Brandon, and this is Tim, and today is Get Naked Monday, where we metaphorically get naked and talk about things that are going on in our lives. And today, I wanted to talk about some things that I have been noticing about neediness, because this is something that's just very interesting. I feel like I've personally grown up, and I feel like culture has taught me that it is not good to be overly needy. Like you don't want to cling on to people. You don't want to need too much out of people. Like once you become an adult, you should be good on needs. And the only other time that it's okay to have needs is if you're in extreme duress or you're an elderly person. But anywhere between like 18 to 69. Like, you should essentially be good and have no more needs after that point from other people, not in a marriage, not in anything. And I know that there are some degrees of that are just like I've automatically flat out rejected, because I do think that like we just have needs. But it is still like questionable when it comes to specifically neediness. And that's just something where recently I don't think that neediness has truly left my life.
Well, I just looking at people recently and just in this whole me first movement that's been going on, I think it's a weird paradigm, because on one hand, you're not supposed to be needy, but on the other hand, especially in American culture, so if you're an American watching this, you know what I'm talking about, you're supposed to need things. And it is about you, like with COVID. Well, who's going to pay for this for me? I'm sick. Who's going to take care of me? Or I have this issue. I need to be gluten free, or I have an allergy, or I have this proclivity towards, I don't know, a certain sexuality or something. I have need, and in those different ways, we have been conditioned to be needy. Like you need to respond. Like I remember when I was working my previous job, I forgot that this one person was what was that term, non-binary, where they didn't associate themselves with a specific gender. It didn't register in my mind because I'd met this person like once or twice, and the person that they were with was one of my ex-employees, because I switched stores. So they came in one day, and then in their conversation with me, they said, I don't have to be nice to you anymore because you don't respond to me with the proper pronouns. I was like, have we met before?
What?
It's like, and I got kind of frustrated because I was like, you know what? I'll call you whatever you want, but have some grace for me, because you don't have that place in my life. I don't know you.
Yeah.
Like wear a name tag that says I prefer to be called them or they.
Yeah.
But it's like those types of needs also are just drilled into us, like, okay, well, I need to be responded to and respected in this way.
And the thing that I've been noticing as of recently is that as a Christian and as a seasoned Christian, those needs didn't disappear. Like they're still there. And I've become very aware of it over the past week or so, like just recognizing like I still have very specific needs. Like for instance, I noticed, and this one's a little bit earlier than just a week ago, I noticed there is like a need within me to be able to trust someone unequivocally, without question. Like there is a legit, I need someone in my life that I can trust without having to worry about them ever betraying me.
Mm-hmm.
It surprised me. I was like, I didn't think about it because I have made God that. in my life.
You know, growing up, just looking at, as we were talking about parents and stuff before the stream, growing up, they are that to you to some degree, especially when you're a kid in diapers. You know, they provide every single, if you have good parents, that is, they provide every single need that you have. They change your diaper when you need it. If you get a boo-boo, they kiss it. You know, if you need school books or if you need to go on a field trip, they give you that $30 or whatever. It's like they meet all those needs, but at some point, your needs surpass what they can provide. You know, and I feel like that's true with a lot of people. You just, like, I remember when I took my job, or my previous job, when I got a promotion, the guy who was previously my boss, we got to the end of the line with what he could teach me, you know? And then so it's like, okay, well, I need to be able to trust that somebody can teach me to this next plateau.
Yeah. And I just when I realized that I still have this need within me to have someone I can trust, it made me have also more compassion on people that want that too, but are finding in the wrong places. Because you look out there and you see people that like they get I've seen the stereotype of the person that like they had the perfect role model before them, like the brother or the father or the friend that just could never go wrong. And then one day, tragically, that person betrays them or die or something happens, and then it's just like they crumble because like that was their rock, that person that they could always trust, that it's always there to say the right thing. And I realize I'm no different. I still desperately need someone that I could always trust no matter what. Like, it's just, being an adult hasn't changed that.
Yeah. Do you think your needs, actually, before we go into that, I wanted to ask you a question. Do you think needs and wants are the same thing?
I don't think so. I mean, by definition, they're different.
Yeah.
Because, I might want something, but if I don't get it, I'm not going to die. I just want it. And then if I need something, and then if I don't get it, I probably will die.
What if you're trying to get something that you need from something that can't give it to you? Is that a want?
Then I think the fact of the matter is it doesn't change the fact that you still need it.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about that concept because as you were talking, I was just thinking, like, what's the difference between these two? And it's like if I need food, you know, and I go to a cafeteria, I get food. But if I need food, but I go to a library, basically I want that source to provide me with something that it can't. It's like, I don't know, I guess it has something to do with expectation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when it comes to needs and stuff of that nature, like, thinking about, like, another one, validation. Like, I still need validation. I need someone to validate me so I can grow in confidence in whatever it is I'm attempting to do that's risky, or something that I'm new at that I don't feel confident in. I still need validation just as much as I used to when I was a kid. Like, it hasn't changed. Like, I'm more confident in some areas, sure, and maybe don't need as much validation, but the need hasn't disappeared. And that's just another thing that's just kind of like startling. It was just like, wow, okay, so like I didn't notice that because I have been slowly getting certain needs, such as someone I can completely trust and someone who is validating me. I've been getting those met via God. And God, who knows me very well, knows when I'm putting in effort and when I'm not putting in effort. And I know when I'm putting in effort most of the time and when I'm not putting in effort most of the time. Sometimes I don't know, but most of the time I do. And God is providing that for me when I'm listening for Him. And He's providing that reassurance, that validation, all those different things. Because, you know, like going back with like parents or friends or brother, whatever, like sometimes those people are asleep. Sometimes they're dead. Sometimes
too soon, bro.
Sometimes they've made a lot of mistakes and that's broken your trust with them. But it doesn't mean that just because you can't get needs met through them doesn't mean that the needs just disappear. Yeah. They're still there.
I think so. We were talking about a conversation that I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, the thing with your parents.
Maybe like a little bit. That's fine.
Yeah, so we were basically just talking about a conversation that Brandon had with a parental unit.
A parental unit.
Yeah. And just understanding, because you're 29.
Yes.
About to be 30.
I'm going on 30.
Yeah, and you're identifying that the role of your parents in your life is a lot different now, or at least should be a lot different now than it was when you were 15.
Yeah.
And you're trying to come to terms with, okay, well, what needs can they meet of mine versus what needs do I need to now get from God?
Yeah. And that's a really hard one, I think, for everyone to navigate, whether you have your biological parents or you have adoptive parents, or, even if you have no parents and you're an orphan, there's still that want and need of validation, of help, whatever, from your parents. And and navigating that, there's over the years of my life, there's some things that I've wanted to have from my parents. And I honestly feel like I've needed from my parents. And they have been so good to me. And through the language that I was talking to you, it was like, yeah, there was certain things that I was saying that on the surface were just kind of like, why would you say these things? But like, I've had to learn how, I've been really working on shifting from my parents providing those things that I need to God providing those things that I need so that I can love, respect, and honor my parents well.
So when you're talking needs, just because this is kind of, I guess, ambiguous, maybe for the viewers that don't know you so much, what needs you're talking about? Because there are certain needs that I had. I'm just trying to think, and guys, if you're watching, I'd love to know either in the comments now or later on, what needs do you think that you have that have maintained through your childhood to adolescence to young adulthood to whatever stage of life you're in? Like, what needs have been consistent? Like, do you feel like there are any needs that you actually outgrow?
I would have used to have said yes, but now I don't think so. It's just I've become more efficient by learning to trust in God to get those needs met, that they're no longer screaming in my face.
Like what?
So, like, for instance, again, validation. Growing up, I would have loved to have had more validation from my parents that I heard what God said, or that, that I could, not to say that I could be successful. They were always very good at validating that I could be successful. Like, I really feel like they did a good job with that. But just that whenever I would try certain things and I was not confident that they would validate me in my efforts, that I would be able to grow in confidence in those moments. Or I can, and not just think about my parents, but from other parent-child interactions. I know some people that, they could have used some validation in their artistic skill, or in their ability to communicate, just different areas, just validating, like, you're doing a good job, or you're doing the best you can, and I'm proud of you. Just having that knowledge that I'm approved of, and that whether I'm doing perfect or not, my parents believe the most out of me. Like, that, I think, is a need, example of a need that we need from our parents. And that I don't think that goes away. Like, I'm 29 and it still means the world when my dad tells me that he's proud of me and the work that I'm doing with thoughtraid. Like, when he tells me those things, like, oh my God, like, my dad believes in me. Like, that means so much to me. And I'm 29. That didn't go away. Like, I'm not like, oh, I don't need him to tell me that anymore.
Yeah. Well, like, I remember growing up, my dad, trying to think of ways my dad would validate the different things I was into. But I know that there were a lot of insecurities I had around that, because it was frequently positioned to me that I shouldn't try certain things, like working on a car or whatever. I was just going to mess it up. And, like, just looking at my relationship with him now, I'm just trying to think, do I actually need validation from him? I think it would be nice. That would be kind of cool. I don't talk to him very often, but like we've never had a conversation about Thought Raid or my life coaching business where he said, "Oh, you're doing a good job," or "I really think that you're capable," you know. And I'm trying to think, like, does that hurt? Do I feel a void there? And my mom has been dead since, or what was it, 2015, so 6 years. She's been dead for 6 years. And I was just telling Ariane the other day that it would be so nice for my mom to be able to come over and hang out with her, and to see that I actually, like, was able to buy a house, and just these little things. And, like, I long for stuff like that. I know it can never happen, but it's like, do I actually still have that need, you know? Maybe so, because I'm thinking about all this stuff and influence that we have with Thought Raid and with my life coaching thing, or just like different mentorships I got going on or whatever. It's like, I know God is really proud of me. And whenever Ariane tells me that God's proud of me for doing something, it makes me feel amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
See, and that's proof that you do have a need of validation. It's just that you have been getting that met via God and your wife. And like, so it's still there. It's very much so there. If you didn't need validation, then people could validate you all day long and you would feel no different from that. There would be no high from that. There would be no, wow, I'm doing really good. Oh, I feel amazing. Like, that wouldn't happen because it's not a need.
Well, so there are tons of other needs. Like, I was just sitting there thinking about what you were saying. Like, you had needs as a child and you have needs now, like need for community, or need for encouragement, need for space to grow, need for food. Like, I'm always going to need food, you know, need for exercise, need for resources or whatever. I'm trying to think, like, are there any unhealthy needs or whatever?
I don't know if there's unhealthy needs, but there are unhealthy ways of meeting those needs, for sure.
Yeah.
So, like, let's take the more obvious one, sex. Like, I feel like there's a point where your body...
He was like, sex.
I feel like there's a point where that might be some form of need, possibly. I don't know. But there's definitely an unhealthy way of doing that. Porn. It's not a healthy way.
Let me position this to you, though. Let's say that you're 22 years old, you're a single guy, you're not married, and you have a need for something sexual. Like, what do you do? Because I know in the Christian culture, it's often touted that masturbation is of the devil.
Yeah.
You know, it's impossible to masturbate and not think of lusting after a woman, or, you know, if you're homosexual, another guy, or whatever the thing is that would get you to that point.
Yeah.
You know? So what would be a healthy way to meet that need? Like, how do you meet your needs sexually through God?
As a single person?
Yeah.
Sexually through God?
Teach me this, Brandon, because I'm really curious. I actually don't know the answer to this.
I don't know the answer to it either entirely, but I do know what God's called me to in the moment, and He's told me that He doesn't want me masturbating, and obviously porn is not okay, because we know through the scripture verse that God says that if you even look at a woman with lust in your heart, you've committed adultery with her. So, like, even looking at her and lusting after her or him is lust, and it's the sin. So I don't really know exactly that one, so maybe that's not the best one I can stand on, but here's a good one that can. Food. Food is a need, but we only need so much of it. We don't need large quantities of food to survive, but yet some people love to eat too much. And so...
I don't like to eat too much. I just like to eat all the wrong things.
Right, but it's still a need, and it's the need to eat is not unhealthy, but there's a healthy way of meeting that need, and then there's an unhealthy way of meeting that need.
Yeah.
And so it still needs to be fulfilled. So, but then there's those subtle things such as validation, such as affirmation, such
menstruation.
That's going to just have to happen if you're a woman, I guess. But, like, I really don't know if there's an unhealthy way that just happens.
Procreation.
I mean, it's technically not a need, but I don't know. Whatever.
I'm jesting.
I know.
Yeah.
But there's just, like, I still have the need for being validated. I still have the need for being affirmed in what I'm doing or whatever. I still have the need to trust someone, to know that I can securely be able to trust someone never to betray me. Like, that's a weird, unspoken thing, but I see a lot of people falling in that area because they put their trust in a person that's not infinite and fallible and likely to die eventually of old age or disease or something, whatever, and then their whole life crumbles because all that very important need of having that trust is in the wrong basket.
Well, there's that scripture that says, trust the Lord with all your heart, and I've tried in my life to trust other people with all my heart. And you just hit that point where you realize, oh, okay, they're going to let me down. And I think, especially with trust, people get to a point where it's like, they just acknowledge you can't fully trust. You can trust some people to a certain degree up until a point. And like, I trust you more than I trust somebody at a kiosk in a mall, obviously, because we built a relationship.
Right.
And I trust my wife more than I trust you. But still, there's going to be an area where she's going to fall short.
Right.
But and that's the weird thing with God too, because a lot of times the areas where we feel like we should be able to trust him and the trust doesn't manifest the way that we think it should, it's like, well, where are you? God, I thought you said I could trust you here. What the heck?
I feel like, and this is something that I thought of separate from that, but like, I feel like if you're feeling needy, it could be a sign that you're getting their needs met in the wrong place and in the wrong way. Because if they're being properly met, the feeling of neediness will not be there. I don't think that's a sure, like 100% the way it's always going to be, but I feel like as a general rule of thumb, that if you're feeling particularly needy about something, then it's being fulfilled in a unhealthy manner. So for instance, if you are feeling very protective about a person because they're perfect to you, and the thought of them making a mistake or leaving your life or something brings you to great anxiety or anger or whatever, that's a sign that you've put your trust into the wrong person.
Oh man, I always hate that feeling too, especially when I was that person and I just wanted friends or I wanted a relationship and somebody showed me some form of interest and I was like, just like clung to them, stuck to them. I don't know if you guys have ever felt that, but
I
definitely have. But it's like, people can feel that too. They know when you're trying to get something from them that they either can't or are not supposed to provide.
Right, exactly. But if you put it into the right place, then you're able to much more easily interact with people without that plaguing you, because it has to be fulfilled.
So let me ask you this. Can you do that without God?
It is my personal belief that you cannot. Changed my mind.
Well, I'm just thinking, because there's so many people out there who just approach the concept of God from a place of skepticism and cynicism, and when you take God out of the picture, and the perfection of love and all that stuff, then all you have is fallible people. And when all you have is fallible people and you're looking for that infallible trust that everybody so much desires, it's like it's very easy to lose faith in people overall.
Yeah, because people are very likely to fail you. Instead of saying, can you trust someone who lightly crosses one of your boundaries multiple times? Someone who keeps making accidental mistakes just during the thought pot.
Well, see, I always have this issue with Brandon. And so I just have to keep it at an arm's length. But the question was, can you
trust someone who lightly crosses one of your boundaries multiple times? Someone who keeps making accidental mistakes.
I'm curious what the accidental mistakes are, because if they know what the boundary is and they know your expectations and you've reinforced them, it's no longer an accident.
Right. I feel like it could be very circumstantial also, too, because it depends on the history with this person. Because like if it's happening truly like multiple 10, 15, 20 times, I don't think it could be considered an accident. But if the person had dementia, I mean, that's a whole nother situation kind of
That'd
thing.
be a funny conversation. So Brandon, I see that you keep crossing this boundary that I have multiple times, and it's an accident. I am sorry. Either you don't love me properly or you have dementia. So I'm just going to err on the side that you love me properly and you have dementia. That's really tough, though, man, because essentially what the person's communicating to you is, I don't value you enough to respect your boundary. But it is possible to love somebody without trusting them. You just have to pull something. I'm not sure what I'm pulling. Pull the rope of like trust back, I guess. I don't know.
Or in some cases, it could just be subtle forms of miscommunication or, again, trust issues. I don't know, but we would need more context to be able to answer that with any sort of truth.
Yeah. Crossing boundary. I don't know, man. Even if it's lightly, I think it all depends on the which circle of relationship you're into. Because if I have somebody at church that will lightly crosses one of my boundaries after I've reinforced, it's like, okay, I'm not really losing a lot, so I'm really not going to put as much effort into this. Mm-hmm. But if it's my wife or Brandon or close friends or whatever, it's like, Brandon, like, I've asked you multiple times not to wear your shoes on my carpet, but you keep doing it. Why? Like, this is a very small thing. Why aren't you respecting me in this way?
Yeah. So I guess it would just greatly depend on the proximity to you, and just a whole bunch of other things, really, because, like, in the most general sense, if it's many times that they're crossing the boundary, even if it's a small boundary, it very likely could be that they're being disrespectful of you and don't really value what you have to say and don't think it's important. And you could try everything in your power to communicate to them what the importance of that boundary is, but they may never actually respect it until that boundary comes with consequences. Because a boundary that has no consequences is not really a boundary at all. He says, like, if you ask your partner to not start another business without you in the same field, but you notice him diverting towards other prospects.
Let me read this again. So, if you ask your partner to not start another business without you in the same field, but you notice him diverting towards other prospects, and to you, it means they care less about the project you have together. Well, I think that's an assumption unless you hear it from the horse's mouth, because that's kind of what's happened with me and Brandon. With my Break the Meta business, life coaching and whatnot, I create content on my own. I engage people on my own, and it's in a very similar fashion. And Brandon's never asked me to not do that. But at the same time, I think we've had a conversation about that. And I was like, listen, man, I need to make money. I have to support my family. And honestly, I feel like that meets a different need for people than this meets a need. And it's similar, but different at the same time. But then again, if we had in our contract as business partners an understanding of boundary, if we do something relating to social media, well, it's within these boundaries of only ThoughtRaid. If that was an understanding, that'd be different. But if we had a conversation and it's like, it seems like he's just stepping on my toes, or I'm stepping on his toes intentionally, it's like, okay, well, why are you halfway in this? Like, what is this not, what need of yours is this not filling that you're trying to get from over there?
So it sounds like a conversation should be had, like, just to talk about it and to ask questions and figure out where they're coming from. Because that'd be a great way of just asking some probing questions and figure out what are the things that are particularly bothering you, so you can write that down as a question and figure out ways to ask it, and maybe presenting things that you might think it is or whatever, and like having that written down so you may not forget or whatever, and then form that into a question, I guess, of like, this is what I feel like is happening. Is this what's happening, or am I just off on this? Like, what is your perspective on this? And not presenting it in an accusatory way, but just asking, like, I'm not understanding this. This is what I thought. What is going on?
Mm-hmm. I think it's really important too to write down the things you're thinking, and then ask yourself, okay, how much of this could be an assumption? Do I know 100% with 100% certainty that this is what's going on? Because if you don't, it's like, okay, well, if I don't understand what's going on, I just need to find out what's going on. Like that statement. Not saying this is what you believe, but you said, and to you, it means they care less about the project you have together. Maybe they don't. Maybe they still care completely, but somebody has asked them over here and they're people pleasing, trying to do this other project. Or maybe they see an opportunity to make money, or maybe they feel like they don't have the creative liberties and freedoms in your partnership, or maybe they're just tired of doing that type of content. It could be a whole host of motives.
Yep, and questions is the best way to kind of bring that out, which is something that you've always worked on me about.
Oh, senpai.
Excellent question asking. So yeah, but just to kind of go back and close the topic for today, I really do believe that God is the best one to fill our needs, and to not just like I feel like I don't think the goal is to stop being needy, but to start getting our needs met in the right places. Like if you need to eat, you get those needs met by eating healthier foods, or eating less, or, exercising more, so that way you can burn the calories you're consuming. Like there's multiple ways to meet your need of eating while keeping it healthy. At the same time, I feel like we have needs to have someone we can trust completely. Like I really feel like maybe it's someday in the future will be acknowledged that there's just a need to be someone to be completely trusted, like unequivocally trustable.
I mean, you get really close with marriage because that's the one person in the world where you feel like you can trust them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that lets some people down sometimes, because you get to a place where that person that you're in marriage with, you can't trust them anymore. That's really sad.
Right, and that's where I feel like it's really important to have God to meet that type of specific need, because he cannot fail. Like, we always can get his motives mixed up, and we may think that he has failed us, or that he's done things that are just completely off the wall. But God knows what he's doing, and if you take the time to know him and to ask him questions, and to what if he is real, and search after him, I think you'll find him to be a very trustworthy friend, and to check off that need of having someone that you can always trust, because and I can say this, because God has filled that place as someone who I can completely and totally trust, I'm able to navigate things with other people more adventurously and take more risks, because if they fail, I still have God. No matter what, God's always there for me.
Yeah, and two things I want to say before we wrap up is that a lot of times things that we actually need can be perverted and bastardized, just because we don't know how to acknowledge them. We don't know what it looks like to engage in that in a healthy way. And so, for instance, we might have a need for new tires, but we go to a grocery store, or we go to an electronics store, which don't service that need. And then people are like, well, idiot, what are you doing? Why do you want tires? We don't even do that here, and you can transpose that on any different need. It's like, I have a need for community. Well, why are you trying to fulfill that need at work where nobody wants to, not steward, what's the word I'm looking for? Cultivate, where nobody wants to cultivate community. Like I know a lot of people who in their workplace try and find community with people that aren't healthy, and then they feel like, man, I'm such a loser because I feel like I'm trying to get community here and nobody wants to have it. And it's like, I feel so bad about this. When it's like, no, that's they don't offer that service there. That's all that is.
Yeah.
And so just not feeling bad about that, because you do have natural needs that should be met.
That just makes me think, when you're going out to places to get needs met, pay attention to how you feel after you've been there. If after you've been there you're still feeling empty, or you're feeling worse than you came in, maybe consider that's not the best place to get your needs met, that there is a healthier place, because
I'm just thinking, like, in my youth, we would eat at all these horrible places. Not horrible as, like, bad tasting, but they were delicious places. But the food that you eat was horrible for your body. And we would only ever drink soft drinks. I'm like, oh, gosh, why do I feel so bad? Oh, guess what? Because I've had 7 times my daily allowance of saturated fat. That's why. And it's like, Oh, okay. I need to change where I get my needs met.
Yep. Because that that made me think when you were talking about bastardizing your needs and just making them horrible. Like I can. That makes me think about the people who have gone to get the right need taken care of at the wrong place.
Oh man, like when you go to a strip club looking for love or looking for
right, you're gonna walk
happen.
out empty or angry or anxious or one of those things because you can't get intimacy fulfilled at a place where people are doing it just for the job. Like that's not where intimacy and love gets fulfilled. That gets fulfilled in the bedroom with your wife who you're married to and committed your whole life to come hell or high water. Like that's where, or with a friend who is always going to be there for you no matter what. Or God, who literally took a part of himself, turned a part of himself into human form and subjected that part of himself as a human to persecution he did not deserve, to die for sins he did not commit, so that he could have eternal relationship with us. Like, you can't find intimacy like that with him, with a person who literally decided to die, kill a part of himself for us. Like, that's amazing. Anyways.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
So, and also, thank you guys for coming in so late. I'm sorry we started late, but there was some things we wanted to work on, and we're happy to have you with us right now. And come Friday, we should be back on schedule at 7 o'clock, so we would love to have you there. What's the topic for Saturday? I think we talked about that.
That's a great question, Brandon. What is the topic? Mr. I want to make all the titles and control the process.
I felt like we wrote down something. Hold on, I gotta look now. Tell me. What? I feel like we wrote down this one. I'm looking through our events. I'm pretty sure. I think I did. I'm 90% positive and declining. Yes, I am. I'll rack up.
Ooh,
so
anxiety.
we're gonna be talking about anxiety on Friday. So if you happen to deal with a lot of anxiety or fear, like for instance, if COVID has really got you super anxious and you're losing sleep and you're isolating from people completely, like I'm not saying like there's some wisdom to it, but like, I'm talking about like you're just not spending any time with anyone at all because
if
you're
you've
super
got
anxious.
COVID and you're quarantining, let us tell you why you're wrong.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about just any situation where you don't have to. Just situations are just full of anxiety. Maybe it's not COVID at all. Maybe it's just family related. Whatever you may be super anxious about. Join us on Friday because we're going to be talking about how to deal with anxiety and put it where the sun don't shine. Like good methods of dealing with anxiety, getting back to peace and risk taking where you're confident and at peace and joyful. If you need more of that in your life, join us. So that's what the topic's going to be this Friday. So with all of that said, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't done so already, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and hit the bell notification because that's how you know when we'll be going live again, which is Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 7 p.m.
Yeah, I can see far away from where I've been. He says I see a potential. I see a potential in my eyes. I see a potential. I never lost sight of the reason why you're alive. You're alive. You're alive. We sing Jesus, you're alive.